Let's talk Utah Jazz basketball, as sources say that Utah Jazz CEO Danny Ainge is frustrating the New York Knicks because he refuses to come off his asking price for Donovan Mitchell. And we told you earlier this week, sources had told us that the Jazz and the Knicks were talking on Monday, and there was optimism a deal would be done. Well, apparently that optimism was one-sided, and it was in Gotham City, New York, because the Knicks felt like they were in position to acquire Donovan Mitchell, and Danny Ainge never once has come off of his demand, according to sources, that he gets 6 first-round picks in return and players in exchange for Donovan Mitchell. Jake, is Danny Ainge asking for too much?
No, I mean, I don't think he's asking too much, mainly because I don't think this is a discussion around what Donovan Mitchell's trade value is. I think this is a discussion around, just how bad the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell, because, again, it can't be said enough. We're not talking about what Donovan Mitchell is worth. We're not talking about, the Utah Jazz are actively trying to trade Don, and they're just trying to get a deal done, and they're just off their rocker asking for too much. That's not what this is. Remember what this is. This is Danny Ainge saying, hey, we're not looking to trade Donovan Mitchell, but if you're going to come calling like the Knicks have for the last year or whatever it's been now, I mean, because this is, we've been here from the Knicks for how long now? I mean, it's literally been like a year that they've been trying to get Donovan Mitchell. So Danny is just simply saying, look, we're not initiating these conversations, but if you're going to call, this is the price, and that's why I say, like, when there was all that Twitter storm about, Danny is close to trading Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks and the Jazz are close. Are they really? Because, Utah Jazz CEO Danny Ainge isn't coming off of his price, and I don't think he should. I think that Donovan Mitchell is a guy that you can build around, and I think that Donovan Mitchell is not someone that you just give away per se, or that you take shortcuts on, or that you compromise on. I think he is the final straw that Danny Ainge has in his bag to get a ton of value back, which is why I say, hey, don't come off of your asking price. Don't budge. Make the Knicks come off their asking price. Make the Knicks compromise their values. So I like what Danny Ainge is doing, and I think, frankly, I think Danny Ainge is doing what's best for the organization because he doesn't have to trade Donovan Mitchell. Donovan hasn't asked for a trade, and that's why I say, no matter what the media says, Danny Ainge has the leverage here, and the Utah Jazz are in a great position. You've got all this trade asset and these players that you got in the Rudy deal. You're waiting for a Kevin Durant thing to go down to see if you can be involved in that. So why would he trade Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks before all this other stuff happens? It doesn't make any sense.
No, I would agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense for Danny Ainge to compromise anywhere. I mean, you got an absolute haul for Rudy Gobert when you traded him to Minnesota. I mean, why would you expect anything less from the Knicks?
Yeah.
And again, if you're just tuning into the show this morning, sources told us that the New York Knicks have a sense of frustration with Danny Ainge and the Jazz because they felt like they had a deal done, and Danny Ainge would not come off of his first 6-round picks. And I think the other thing that is probably difficult about this trade is, the salary you're going to have to take back in return if you're the Jazz to make this deal work financially amongst NBA trade parameters. But I think also if you're the Knicks, you really need to make this deal. I think you feel like your window is just now opening up. Obviously, this situation with Jalen Brunson, and if you didn't hear what happened in New York, they had an introductory press event with Jalen Brunson that, well, frankly, didn't include the press. The New York Knicks did not include the media in Jalen Brunson's introductory session. I want to say press conference. I want to say media session, press conference, whatever. But there were fans there. There just weren't any media members invited to this event. And it's been a pretty tumultuous summer for the Knicks in that there's been a lot of unrest. There's been a lot of questions about what's been good and what's been bad. And there's been a lot of questions about why James Dolan and Leon Rose and the rest of that front office have not been able to get a Donovan Mitchell deal done. And now you find out that the reason is Danny Ainge is driving an incredibly hard bargain and that the Knicks have become frustrated in those negotiations. And I think one of the other things that we're probably underselling is, again, it was described to me by sources at the Utah Jazz that Donovan Mitchell has never asked for a trade demand. And we've been reporting that now for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
But I think right now in terms of where we are with the Knicks and Donovan Mitchell, it's incredibly important to point out that Donovan Mitchell has never asked for a trade. And I think that's why the Utah Jazz don't have to act with a sense of urgency here. Danny Ainge does not have to lower his asking price, Jake, because Donovan Mitchell is not making this situation at all tenuous.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing right now is that the Utah Jazz are under no pressure to move or operate. And that's what I said yesterday in the show. Like, I think it's really important to understand the Utah Jazz are just, there's no motivation for them to come to the middle or compromise or negotiate or bend at all. Why would you? There's no reason to. I think, and that's why I say, like, if I'm the New York Knicks, eventually I just got to put this to bed. Eventually, you got to just say, okay, yeah, this isn't going to be a fit. We're going to move on, for now. Maybe we revisit this at the deadline. Maybe we revisit these talks next summer. But right now, it's just not a tenable situation for us. And that's why I say, like, it's going to take, like, a Don asking for a trade type situation for the Jazz to bend. It's going to take an event of some variety to push the Jazz to do something or to come off that price. And again, I have to say, I endorse that thought process. I think that Danny Ainge is doing it right. I think Danny is very good in these situations, knowing the landscape, knowing where the Utah Jazz are, knowing who they are, knowing where they're going. Like, he gets it. He's got it all mapped out and planned, and that's what I think allows him to operate at a really high level in these situations.
Yeah, and again, I think it's really important that this situation, at some point in time, you need to stop talking about trading Donovan Mitchell. I think this team, and obviously you want to go to training camp with some stability. You want to go to training camp with a belief that Donovan Mitchell is going to be your guy this year. But I don't know that this ends until the trade deadline passes. I mean, you're either going to stop talking about this and say, hey, we're not trading Donovan Mitchell, or you're not going to say anything at all. And my guess is that the Utah Jazz say nothing at all, and Donovan Mitchell shows up somewhere around October 1st for Utah Jazz Media Day, and we have no clarity, and he's going to be asked a bunch of very uncomfortable questions. And I'm curious how long this goes on, but I also don't think it's in the Jazz best interest to make a statement saying we're not trading Donovan Mitchell.
Facts.
That just doesn't make a lot of sense from a business perspective, because if you can get a team like the Knicks, or if you can frustrate the Knicks into moving off of what they're willing to pay to raising their ceiling of compensation, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Because, again, I think the only way that the Utah Jazz trade Danny Ainge trades Donovan Mitchell, is if he gets at least 6 first-round picks. Because, by the way, I would also remind you, Donovan Mitchell's under contract for 3 more seasons. Mm-hmm. There is no need to trade Donovan Mitchell. He cannot walk away. Donovan Mitchell cannot dictate his situation. Can he make it uncomfortable? Sure he can. Is that who Donovan Mitchell is? It's absolutely not. And again, I think that's why it's important that we continue to go back to our Jazz sources and say, hey, has he demanded a trade? Has Donovan Mitchell asked to be traded? Have you had conversations about trading Donovan Mitchell? And I think it's important to know that Don is not asked to be traded because he's not trying to make this, and what's the right word here? He's not trying to make this uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's not trying to put leverage on the organization.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's trying to do here. I think Donovan Mitchell is simply going about his business, and I think Donovan Mitchell is handling his offseason the exact right way.
But is Donovan Mitchell good enough to do what guys like Kevin Durant do, where they're under contract for 3 more years and they don't like their situation, and so they're trying to bounce? Like, is he good enough?
I mean, he's not Kevin Durant, but has Kevin Durant really changed his situation at all?
No.
I mean,
and that's a great point.
I think this is something to talk about. Reports out of Brooklyn yesterday said that Kevin Durant was not talking to his teammates or the Brooklyn Nets. And, Kevin is active on LinkedIn. Kevin is active on Twitter. Kevin is doing podcasts, but he's not talking to the Nets or to his teammates by reports. Now, is that true? I don't know. I don't know Kevin Durant. I frankly, I would not be surprised if Kevin hasn't communicated with Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai recently, but what do they have to talk about? I mean, they met and they talked about the fact that Kevin wanted to be traded. But if you listen to reports I think it was the New York Post that reported Joe Tsai and Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets are not exactly sure why Kevin Durant wants to be traded.
Yeah.
There was no, hey, A plus B equals I want out. Like, there was none of that happened in Brooklyn. So there's some question about why Kevin Durant demanded a trade. And what I would tell you is certainly Kevin Durant is a better player than Donovan Mitchell. I don't think anybody doubts that. But does Kevin Durant have more influence over his situation to change that, to get traded? Well, apparently not, because breaking news, Kevin Durant's still a Brooklyn Net, as is Kyrie Irving, as is Ben Simmons. So at this moment, Kevin Durant's had no influence on his situation. So maybe all of this is just a whole bunch of nothing about nothing.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Durant hasn't shown that he's got any influence.
Yeah, and I think as far as NBA fans are concerned, Danny Ainge is the one who's been affecting the league so far. I mean, I'm not trying to be crass about it, but like Danny Ainge is the one who made the big deal. Danny Ainge is the one who set the price for Kevin Durant. Danny Ainge is the one who set the price for Donovan Mitchell. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, you should feel great about what Danny Ainge is doing, because he is setting the market. He is controlling the narrative. He is saying, hey, this is what we got for Rudy Gobert. All due respect to Rudy. What is the price for Donovan? What is the price for Kevin Durant? That's the thing. And so, yeah, sure, if the New York Knicks front office is frustrated, if Joe Tsai in Brooklyn is frustrated, great. I think if you're Danny Ainge, that's precisely what you were looking for as a side effect of that Rudy Gobert deal. Frustration in negotiation in the proper way can sometimes help you. And I think in this particular situation, Danny's in a good place, and so are the Utah Jazz. And that's why I say, eventually something is going to crack here. Eventually, Kevin's going to get moved, or Kyrie's going to get moved, or whatever. Something is going to happen. Like, finally yesterday we got the James Harden deal. Pretty much done, finally. So that's why I say we're starting to get little trickles of movement, but we haven't gotten the big deal yet. So that's why I pose the question: is it time for us to just kind of put this whole, the Utah Jazz are trading Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks conversation to bed? Because I kind of feel like we're getting there. I kind of feel like, unless something changes, there's not going to be much movement.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. By the way, the Philadelphia 76ers and James Harden agreed on a 2-year deal that required Harden to take a $14 million pay cut. He went back to the Sixers on a $14 million deal. And I say, hey, you know what? I think James Harden completely understood what this was about.
Yeah.
And I think James Harden did absolutely the right thing, because now what that extra $14 million does, and it's actually more than $14 million. It's like $14.8 million. Mm-hmm. It allows the Philadelphia 76ers to bring in other bodies, and it allows them to compete at a higher level. But by the way, this is also a second-year player option for James Harden. So, in fact, it's a 1-year deal that has a second-year player option on it, which I think was incredibly smart business by James Harden. James Harden has made an F ton of money. He has made a lot of money. So the idea that, this $14 million is make or break for him, it's simply not the case. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money. Anytime you leave $14 million on the table, that's a lot of millies, right? But James Harden's made a ton of money, and I think James Harden knows he's probably going to make $100 million more on his next deal.
Right.
Why wouldn't you take a prove-it deal? And I think that's what this is. But this is what we talked about, I feel like, for the last week.
Yeah.
You listen to Kyle Lowry. You listen to Kyrie Irving. You listen to James Harden. These guys are all on prove-it deals now.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving's on a 1-year deal, and then he is a free agent. If he has another bad year, Kyrie Irving did incredible damage to his brand. So when I go to Donovan Mitchell and I think to myself, well, hey, is Donovan Mitchell on a prove-it deal? Yeah, I would say he is. Because whether or not he's going to be a free agent or what his contract situation is, his legacy is on the line.
Yes.
The trajectory of Donovan Mitchell's career is hanging in the balance right now today.
And he knows that.
Yeah, but that's why I think when you look at what Donovan's doing this offseason, spending a lot of time with his body man, David Alexander, getting in better shape. Now you're seeing he's working on his mid-range game. Now you're seeing that he's a lot more explosive than I think he was at any time last year. you're seeing that Donovan Mitchell is putting in the work again, which he has done every summer of his career, and he always comes back a better player. And the thing I would point out is, what did we see from Donovan Mitchell in these videos this week? We saw a comfortable, easy three-point stroke. We saw really good mid-range activity. We saw explosiveness at the rim. Donovan Mitchell is working on his game.
I'm for real.
And I think, I think that's the perfect drop right there.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell's for real. And if the Jazz hang on to him, if Donovan Mitchell comes back in a Jazz uniform when this season starts, I'm telling you the guy is going to average 30 points the first 6 weeks of the season.
Hey, man.
I think he is going to come out and absolutely wreck this league.
Yeah. I'm about it. I'm with you. I think that Donovan has that capability. I think, like I was saying, I think Donovan believes that this is, a prove-it year for him, if you will. And I think that, I think the other thing, too, is Donovan, in my opinion, again, I don't know Donovan, obviously, but in my opinion, I think Donovan Mitchell wants to ascend to the top 5 in the league. Like, he wants to be one of the best players in the league. He wants it to be, no doubt about it, I am as good as Devin Booker. I am as good as Jason Tatum. I am in the top echelon of guys. And I think that the interesting part about this whole Don to the Knicks situation is people feel like Danny Ainge's asking price is outrageous. Is that because they don't think that Donovan Mitchell is good enough to command that kind of assets, or is that just because they feel like it's just a high offer for any player? You know what I mean? So if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm just trying to secure everything that I can by going out and dominating.
I don't disagree with that at all. Welcome to everybody just tuning into the show. Breaking news this morning as we woke up to text messages from NBA sources saying that the New York Knicks have a sense of frustration with Jazz CEO Danny Ainge because the Knicks felt like they had a deal done earlier this week. They had talked to the Jazz on Monday, and they felt like they had the framework of a deal for Donovan Mitchell. And in fact, Danny Ainge was not prepared to change his demand at all.
Okay.
And
so that's how it's going to be.
And so now you have the Knicks and Leon Rose feeling frustrated that Danny Ainge will not come off of his demand for 6 first-round picks and a bunch of talent in return. And the Knicks really feel like Donovan Mitchell is somebody that's very important to their development. The only problem is Danny Ainge knows what he's got in Donovan Mitchell, and he won't come off that trade demand, and that is what's frustrating to Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
And a couple of other stories that we're working into here. There are stories out of New York as well that Kevin Durant is reportedly not speaking to the Nets or his teammates. Now, is that Kevin, saying, I'm not talking to you guys, get the F out of here? Or is that Kevin Durant saying, hey, it's the summertime, man, I'm just living my life? My guess is it's somewhere in between. Kevin doesn't have a whole lot to say to the Brooklyn Nets, and Kevin doesn't have a whole lot to say to his teammates.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can't tell me that KD and Kyrie aren't talking on a pretty regular basis.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I got to believe that.
Yeah,
the other, not to undersell this, but I want to say that it was ESPN Radio New York that had the story that Ben Simmons is going to be ready for training camp, like ready to compete, play basketball.
I sure hope so.
And is in a place with his, what is it, mental health issues or anxiety situation?
His mental state.
Yeah, where he's ready to play basketball.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that. I think you first brought it up on the show where he was at Summer League, kind of rehabbing his image, Ben Simmons was. And what did you say in our top secret launch codes and nukes pre-show meeting? Well, if you have KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons all at full go, the Brooklyn Nets are pretty damn good.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
And I think there's a chance that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, you have 3 guys, obviously, in KD, Kyrie, and Ben, who, for lack of a better description, are divas. I mean, that's what they are. Like, they are guys who are very good at playing basketball, but at the same time, they come with a ton of baggage. And I am no Kyrie fan. I'm a KD guy, but there's no getting around the fact that he comes with baggage. He He's thin-skinned.
But wait, do you really think
Yes.
he wants out of Brooklyn?
I
really think he wants to leave the Nets?
I think Kevin Durant is a purist when it comes to basketball and his team. I think Kevin Durant wants to show up at the practice facility, wants to show up at Barclays Center and not have to deal with drama and not have to deal with Ramadan and Kyrie blessing the building.
I totally disagree with that. I understand that's uncomfortable. I don't think Kevin Durant gives a damn about Kyrie's personal life. I think that Kevin Durant respects somebody like Kyrie Irving that is, and for those of you who don't know, Kyrie Irving is an observant Muslim, and part of being a Muslim is that you fast during Ramadan from sun up to sundown.
God bless.
You fast during Ramadan. You do not eat. The only thing you ingest in your body is water.
You're so fucked.
And that only problem is that tip-off is when the sun has not set yet. And so in the NBA playoffs, Kyrie Irving is fasting during Ramadan. And, I mean, there are vivid images of him coming out of the Nets locker room with a plate and a sandwich, going to sit on the bench is the moment that sundown happens so that he can eat and feel better.
It vexes me.
There are some people that pissed off. Kevin Durant's not one of them.
Well,
I just don't believe that.
I think that, yeah, I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, I agree that Kevin operates with a certain level of, I don't give an F about people's things or whatever. Like, I'm sure he does. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But what I do think Kevin Durant cares about is guys being on the floor and actually playing basketball. What I do think he cares about is winning championships and moving past drama.
And I think to that point, one of the things that was clearly a grind for them was the situation that we don't talk about with the Coco.
Yeah.
Where Kyrie Irving wouldn't take the thing in his arm to make sure that he could play in an indoor arena.
Dude, I think the Nets and Kevin Durant are just in a place where they don't care why you're not on the floor. Like, if you're not on the floor, it doesn't matter why. You're not on the floor.
Yeah. If you're not here to help us win, you're not here at all. And I think Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, had just gotten to a point where he'd had enough from Kyrie.
Yeah.
Because, again, remember, go back a year from now or a year ago, go back in time 1 year, reverse, like reverse.
Pack this thing up. We're out of here.
Kyrie Irving a year ago was meeting with Joe Tsai in Southern California and promising to get the thing in the arm to deal with the Coco.
Yeah.
And he never did. And it cost the Brooklyn Nets dearly. And speaking of
I started having second thoughts.
Yeah, speaking of the Nets, now you have James Harden sacrificing $14.8 million to get more help in Philly so they can compete. And yet here we go with Kyrie Irving opting into his $37 million player option and saying, I'll see you in the fall.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the problem that I have. Is that I just think that Kyrie Irving's a dick.
And
that's what, and not to be blunt about it, but that's how it comes across to me. I just think Kyrie Irving is an incredibly selfish player who puts himself and his interests and his money above all else. When you have other guys across the league taking less money to build a championship contender.
Yep.
Most notably, the guy you said couldn't be here because he was a problem in James Harden.
Yep.
So now what? And I think that's the issue. All right, enough of us. Let's get more of you. Let's get your thoughts in here. A lot of people in this morning. We will do our best to get all your comments in here.
If you don't read my comment, I'm going to freak out.
I'm just tired of you.
Ah.
James Knight. Did my man Patty Mills opt out in Brooklyn? He did, but then he re-signed with the Nets. My Holy King says, if you go straight to the owner over the GM, that means you want out. Brooklyn can't win with Steve Nash.
I don't know about that.
I think Steve Nash is a very young, inexperienced coach that went through a lot last year, and I would expect him to be a more wiser, ready NBA coach this coming season.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would say. Alex Chacon, do you think the rumors about Leon Rose possibly getting let go if they can't get this Don deal done are true? I have no idea. I really don't know. I would not be surprised. Jimmy Dolan's a terrible owner.
Yeah.
James Dolan is a terrible
Another
owner.
reason I don't think Don wants to be a Knick, man.
Yeah. New York Jazz fan, Danny Ainge looking to give some on-the-job training to these new GMs in Minnesota and New York.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though? Like, come on.
You're casual.
Darn right. Darn right. Neville 93, first one in this morning. Good to see you, friend. Prismac from Poland.
Yeah, Poland.
My Polish brother.
Yes.
Hello, Monty and Jake. Hello, Prismac. Good to see you. Jesse Harsh, who, by the way, thanks for the $5 tip, Jesse. Appreciate you. Jesse says, hey, guys, thanks for helping me get through my workday with your pod. Between Jaren Hall and Cam Rising, who's putting up better numbers this season?
Guys.
I think Jaren Hall is poised to have one of the great seasons in recent BYU history.
You think he can do better than Zach did? Not even joking. I mean, Zach Wilson had a hell of a year.
I think he can be there. I think he can be there. I think the biggest question about Jaren is, can he stay healthy? And Jesse, we'll talk a lot of BYU football coming up.
And by the way,
by the way, don't forget we are giving away a trip for two to see BYU and Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. That is presented to you by Devry Davis at Academy Mortgage. NMLS number 278545. Devry Davis and Academy Mortgage are equal housing lenders. All you got to do is call Devry Davis today, 801-543-9666. We are sending a listener to Las Vegas with a $250 gas card. As well, we're giving you 2 nights hotel and 2 tickets to see BYU and Notre Dame at Allegiant Stadium. JP Shanahan.
Yeah.
Good morning, my friend. Let me start with your first one. He says, the Jazz are sitting on draft picks and cash capital with the ability to earn more in both categories with a Donovan Mitchell trade, but Utah's historic inability to sign elite free agents, coupled with a diluted free agent market, how would additional cash capital help the Jazz?
Okay, so first of all, I need to address the comment of Utah's history of the inability to get free agents here. I think we have to stop saying stuff like that. I think we have to stop working in the past because Danny Ainge has never been here. The Utah Jazz have never operated in this way before. I think we're in a new time for the organization. Now, I agree. It's not like, free agents have ever come here. It's not like, it was because of the front office that they're not coming here. But what I am saying is that Danny Ainge is here. Donovan Mitchell is still here. So while those two are here and you have a fresh young head coach and Will Hardy, I think you have a chance to go out and get some guys.
I would agree with that. I think that's a really interesting question. JP Shanahan also had, sorry, I meant trading, not training. Damn autocorrect. You're fine. You're fine. Greg Hawkins, sup, y'all?
Greg,
good to see you. Let's see. Jerem Vincencio said Jarom, Jerem.
Okay.
BYU Radio, Jerem.
Who the f*** is that guy?
Says, best show on YouTube. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, bro. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you.
That.
Seriously, appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Richard McDonald says, LOL SDSU. They don't even have fans. San Diego State does.
Here we go.
We'll talk about that coming up.
We'll talk about that coming up. They don't even have fans, guy has entered the comments.
Mark Rasmussen says, good morning. Always gorgeous in daybreak in the morning, y'all. Yes, it is. Big fan of Daybreak. Sharon26 says, good morning, gents. Good morning to you, sir. Daniel Westover. National media getting it so wrong about Donovan's situation makes me second guess their reporting generally. They mostly just repeat each other's crap. Well,
Facts.
I think this is not that easy of a job when you're trying to the Utah Jazz play things very close to the vest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is very difficult to get information out of the Jazz. And what I would say is I think the Jazz have consistently told us anyway that they are not actively trying to trade Don, that if you call them with 6 picks and 3 players, they're going to listen. And at one point I was told if Danny Ainge doesn't listen, he would be derelict and irresponsible in his duties. And yes, I just said duty. But
duty.
Yeah, duty. He would be irresponsible if he didn't listen to trades
Correct.
that are that one-sided for Donovan Mitchell.
And that's why I think it's such an interesting time for the organization in the Utah Jazz. Like, I think the media reporting thing, like, I will say there is a certain responsibility in it. You can't just go and say anything you want to say.
That's right.
You can't just say anything that you're told. Like, you have to. There's a certain responsibility in it. That's what I'll say. And I think that you do hear a lot of things nationally, but you have to remember that like. Big networks like Fox and ESPN, they have a job to do, and they're doing their job,
Yep, totally agree. Good morning, Mike Maples. Good morning, Teddy Wayman. Ira in Utah says, why wait for the trade deadline? Playoff teams aren't giving more than 3 players and 5+ picks in February. Maybe not. Maybe not. But all things happen in time. I am a big believer in the universe. Everything happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. And by the way, I would tell you, it is not a problem that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
right? Think about your life and think about the issues you have. It's not the problem that's the problem. It's your reaction to it. If the New York Knicks are frustrated that Danny Ainge won't give up on asking for 6 picks, they've got to react appropriately, which is don't give up 6 picks. Go find somebody else. You have multiple star players available on the market who would require far less than 6 picks.
Yeah.
Go get it. Go put John Collins in a New York Knicks uniform. The problem is the Knicks historically have not reacted well to situations like this. They generally will cave and give up the 6 picks and the 3 players. And I think that's a huge mistake.
Yep.
And there's also part of me that says, I still believe that Donovan Mitchell could be traded in August. I do. I truly believe that you look at some of the players that can't be moved right now. I don't know, like a Patrick Beverley. Pat Bev can't be traded until August. So maybe the Jazz are waiting for a larger deal that includes Patrick Beverley. Who knows? Nothing is impossible.
I guarantee you that Danny Ainge and that front office have a bar. If you're below the bar, you're not getting Donovan Mitchell. If you're above the bar, you're getting Donovan Mitchell. I also think that Danny Ainge and that front office have 2 plans, Plan A and Plan B. Plan A, Donovan's here, this is where we're going. Plan B, Donovan's not here, this is where we're going. And I guarantee you as part of that process, they have a plan they like more than the other one. And in my opinion, I like the Donovan Mitchell is here plan a lot more than the Donovan Mitchell is not here plan.
I would agree. Good morning to Cody Strickland. Said he just came in the room. Mike Maples. By the way, Mike, also a lover of the Air Jordan 11.
Yes.
The Concords, the Carolina Blues.
The cool grays.
I am. Yeah, the cool. I had the very tough decision in my life, Mike Maples, this morning because Mike tweeted at me about 11s last night.
Yeah.
It's like, man, which 11 do I wear? Do I wear do I wear the black and white low? Do I wear the all white low 11? Do I wear the cool grays?
Right. So you were in the pressure cooker in the shoe room.
Which
and
is
you had
a daily
to perform.
thing.
You had to perform. Now, how did you go about choosing which one you were going to wear? Because it's tough.
You know, I just put my hand on the box.
Uh-huh. Whoa. I
put my hand on the box, and I felt an electric shock run through my groinial region when I touched the Air Jordan 11 Jubilee 25th Anniversary Edition. So that's what we have on our feet this morning. Erection? And Mike Maples, it's all your fault. Mike says the Jazz are also showing Don how much they value him, so there's no reason for him to be upset at any of this. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Compass says Don equals Nick. I don't think so.
Yeah, not yet, man. Not yet.
Not yet. I don't think so. Mark Barrington, good morning to you, sir. And on the flip side, no one wants to pay it if it's not going to sell. Excuse me, he said first, it's odd. There seems to be attitude for some that it's unfair that Ainge is asking for what he is. It's like anything. The price has been set. If you can meet it,
yeah,
great. If you don't
get the hell out of here.
I think that's a very salient point, Mark. I really do. All right, let's see. Theranat says 2 Knicks haters. I'm not a Knicks hater. I grew up, Patrick Ewing was one of my favorite players as a kid.
Yeah.
I am not a Knick hater at all. So you can say we're being Knick haters. And this is why we say we are always the truth in sports radio. When you're ready to talk sports and you want the truth on a certain topic, come to the Monty Show. Because whether you like us or hate us, you know you're going to get the truth. And the truth is, Danny Ainge is forcing the Knicks to blink. And if they don't blink, back away from it. Because I also got to tell you, I think there's a lot of value in the Knicks not making this deal.
Yes.
I think that it's like officiating. In hockey is the perfect example.
Right.
The call that you don't make is always the most impactful one. It's the trade you don't make that generally is the most impactful one.
Yep.
Because you're going to hang on to 6 first-round picks and 3 young players.
But the problem is that historically speaking, the draft hasn't been kind to the Knicks. They haven't done a good job.
I don't disagree with that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, again, if you want to say we're haters, fine. I guess I'm cool with that. But I just don't think we're hating. Like, I think that right now where the Knicks are at is, yeah, the ownership hasn't been great. The front office execution hasn't been great. I think R.J. Barrett was a good pick, no doubt about it. But I think that overall, with where you are right now, there's a lot of work to be done. You have assets on that team, but you need a guy that brings them all together, like a Donovan Mitchell or a guy of that caliber, and that's the problem. You can't be so thirsty on one guy that you give up the entire farm to get him. That's not good enough.
Look.
Yeah.
if you watch this show ever, you know I am a huge believer in Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up 4 picks for Don. I'm not giving up 4 first-round picks. And you know the guy I'm really not giving up? I'm not giving up Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. And look, Donovan, I love you, man. But 4 first-round picks, 6 first-round picks?
Yeah.
Nah, man. I'm not doing that. The Knicks are in a great position.
Y'all feel me?
You're finally in control of yourself. Why would you give all this up to get Donovan Mitchell? I'm not doing that. I know he's from Westchester County. I know he's a local guy. I know his dad works for the Mets.
None of that matters.
None of that matters.
None
I'm
of
not
that
giving up
matters.
6 picks for Donovan Mitchell. With all due respect, I think Don is an absolute killer.
Too bad.
I'm not giving up 6 picks to get him.
Yeah.
And listen, in the comments section, obviously we have a lot of Knick fans on the show today. Based on what the comment section says, I just don't. I don't think you can do that.
I think the Knicks, dude, I agree. The Knicks are in a great spot right now. And I also think that part of this conversation is when you have as much assets as they do, there's a certain level of giddiness and responsibility in that. Yeah, you do have a lot of assets. Yeah, you do have the ability to make deals. But this is where good basketballing and bad basketballing happens. The good teams take advantage of these situations and know the deals they want to make, and those deals pan out, and now all of a sudden you're a contender. The bad teams go the exact opposite direction.
Yep, totally agree. Compass says, I think Mitchell Robinson will have a great 2023.
Yes.
I absolutely agree.
I agree.
I love Mitch. I wanted Mitchell Robinson to be a Bull.
Dude, the athleticism
I
that
wanted
he
him
brings
to be
to
a
the
Bull.
floor is second to none, man.
Yep.
At that size,
Ooh, look at Big L 139, Lennox.
Big L.
The Knicks have more leverage. Okay, let's explore
Let's hear
this.
it out. Yeah.
Let's
What's he
explore
say?
this. He says they can use their picks and young players to get any player that becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz need to unload Donovan. The situation's already toxic. Actually, it's not.
It's not. See, this is
It's
a big
not.
misconception, bro. It's not a toxic situation.
At all.
Donovan has not asked for a trade. Donovan and Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge are very much on the same page about this process. I would guess, again, this isn't sourced information or anything, but I would guess that Donovan, Ryan, and Danny Ainge are on the same page about what's happening. Hey, we're not looking to trade you, but if the Knicks come calling with 57 picks and 18 players, then yeah, we're not going to be an idiot and not take that offer,
I don't think the Knicks have all the leverage in this situation. And again, I just want to make this clear. I talk to people at the Jazz on a 2-3 times a week. I talk to people at the Jazz on a pretty regular basis. And they've been pretty good for us. The Jazz, the people we talk to around the NBA, man, I've been doing this gig for 30 years, man. This is not my first rodeo.
I'm going to say this again.
I covered Kobe and Shaq every day in Los Angeles. Trust me, you know when it's toxic.
Yeah.
The issue in the Jazz locker room was Rudy Gobert and his obsessive and constant complaining. And I also think I'm more into, and I think Spence Checketts at ESPN 710 was the first one that had it, but I also agree with Spence and others who have said George Niang is the guy that you miss in this locker room, right? It's not Joe Ingles, it's George Niang. But now that you've cleaned house of those 3 guys, Donovan Mitchell is going to get a chance to lead this team if they don't make this deal. So when you talk about leverage and you talk about the situation with the Jazz and Donovan Mitchell, I'm telling you right now, Donovan Mitchell, while he's not buddy and hey, it's all love, bro, with Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge, he does not at all need to be traded.
Yeah.
He has never, not one time, according to my sources at the Jazz, asked to be traded or demanded to be traded. Donovan Mitchell has done one thing very well this summer. Not said 2 words. He has not spoken to anybody. He tweets about the Mets. He instas about working out and playing basketball. He's not talking. And that's because I think Donovan Mitchell realizes he's got an incredible amount of proving to do.
Yep.
And I think what you're seeing is you're looking at a guy in Donovan Mitchell who is just fine coming back to Salt Lake City. So my guy, Big L 139 in Lennox, I respectfully disagree. Crystal Ball TV says Knicks should give all their picks. Jazz will suck for the next 3 years. I totally disagree with that. If this trade were to happen, If you trade Donovan Mitchell, you're going to be a 40-win team maybe, 35 wins. That means you'll own, by the way, your pick this coming season. A year from now, you will have drafted on your own pick.
Yeah.
You win 35 games, that's probably a pretty good pick. Is that going to get you VW in this draft? Probably not.
But as a Utah Jazz fan, how palatable is a rebuild? I mean, is that
a 1-year rebuild?
Well, is that a rebuild?
Yeah, I think it is. I think because the other thing is I don't think Ryan Smith has an appetite to suck for 5 years.
Yeah.
You didn't hire Danny Ainge to do that.
Yeah. That's never been the Danny Ainge way.
No, Alex Chacon, Knicks fans are acting like Don is and publicly requested a trade. New York has no leverage. That is my feeling as well. I much more am aligned with that way of thinking.
I think you have to understand that if you're a Knicks fan, and you live in New York, like how else are you going to view this? I mean, with all due respect, I'm not even trying to hate. Like I think it depends on your perspective, but we can definitively tell you on the show that the situation in Utah with the Utah Jazz and Donovan Mitchell is not toxic. It is not at all tumultuous or issue based or anything. They're very much on the same page, and that's why I say like compare Donovan Mitchell's behavior to what we've seen out of the East Coast stars. The James Hardens and the Kevin Durant's and the Kyrie Irvings. Donovan Mitchell again hasn't said anything, and he's just been working. There's no issue. That's why I say again, I don't expect, with all due respect, I don't expect the Knicks fans here to think that this is a great situation because of, frankly, their perspective. But I'm telling you, man, if you're a Knicks fan, you need to listen, and you need to listen well. This situation is not tumultuous. There's not issues. Donovan Mitchell hasn't asked for a trade. They don't need to trade Donovan Mitchell. They're not burning it to the ground. None of that's happening. This is purely hey, Jimmy Dolan is ringing the phone repeatedly. Leon Rose is ringing the phone. Danny's going to listen. If they want to meet the bar, the deal will get done. If they don't, it won't get done. It's literally that simple.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I think it's very interesting that you hear all of these trade rumors, and I think one of the other guys that you have to talk about when it comes to the Jazz making trades is I think you got to talk about Malik Beasley a little bit because I think Malik Beasley has value around the league.
You want to talk about a prove it deal?
I think Malik Beasley's a guy that the Lakers would have incredible interest in. I think the Dallas Mavericks have incredible interest in Malik Beasley. I think the Miami Heat have incredible interest in Malik Beasley because that mofo knocks down the three.
Yep.
And I think that when you look at Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, yeah, those guys are definitely in trade conversations. I think they're going to struggle to trade Mike Conley for any kind of value. Bojan Bogdanovic and Malik Beasley may damn well be two of their three most valuable players in trade markets, with Pat Bev being the third when he's eligible to be traded. So I think if you trade those guys, I don't know what you are. If you are Donovan Mitchell, what do you have left to compete with here? But then again, if you're Donovan Mitchell and you come back and it's Vanderbilt and it's Malik Beasley and
I think what's exciting for Donovan Mitchell is you have a new situation. That's what's exciting. But
I also think what's more exciting than that is that you can score 30 points a night.
Yeah.
I think if Donovan Mitchell comes back as the only asset on this team, and you have a bunch of younger guys that the Walker Kesslers of the world, who the world knows what Jared Butler's going to be like. If you come back with that ilk of player, man, I think Donovan Mitchell's going to be a guy that doesn't have to worry about passing much, and his mid-range is going to get a hell of a lot of work.
Y'all feel me?
And I think if that's the case, I think there is I think there's a lot of reason to believe that there's going to be a lot of that. But again, Alex, I agree with you. I think Knick fans believe that they have all the leverage, and I don't think they do. Rob Turner says Danny Ainge is Boston. He will screw over the Knicks when he gets every chance. Well, I mean,
you're not wrong.
There probably is something.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
BB says, when do we move on from the Knicks trade and try to add to this team?
I agree.
But I don't know what that looks. What do you mean add to this team? Because if you were trying to add to this team, I think if you go to training camp right now as constituted, you're a 40-win team, 45-win team. I think if you let's say you make the Knicks trade, I think you're probably a 35, 40-win team. You're just slightly below because you're going to get an incredible haul of talent.
Yeah.
I think you're not going to training camp with this roster. I just don't think you are. I think you're probably going to get another first for Patrick Beverley. I think you're probably going to bring in a center. And I still maintain that and nobody agrees with me, but I have to believe that there is value in a John Collins deal for the Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody agrees with me. I've asked 10,000 people, and I've had of the 5 or 6 people I've talked to this scenario about, I've had 2 people say, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, but Atlanta would really like to be involved in a Kevin Durant conversation, and they just have never gotten started there. So I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I still maintain that there are bigger deals with young fish to fry for Danny Ainge. I honestly think they could be involved in a John Collins deal. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. So I think they're going to trade. I think they're going to trade Malik Beasley. I think they're going to trade Boyan. And I think they're going to trade Pat Bev. And I think if that happens, I think you're a 40, 45 win team.
Yeah.
Max. If you trade Donovan, I think you're probably a 35 win team max.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to trade Don. Honestly, I don't. I mean, I look at the way things break out, and I just think that you're retooling right now at this moment. James Knight says Jingles has left a gaping hole in that locker room. He hasn't, James. And with all due respect, I think that, and again, to his credit, Spence Checketts at ESPN 700 is the one that had this first. But I think that Joe Ingles and Rudy Gobert had the tendency to grind on people. And I think we've been talking about for 2 years that Rudy Gobert was a chemistry problem. And I think up until about 8 weeks ago, right when Quinn Snyder decided not to return, that's the first time I'd ever heard that Joe Ingles was a problem in the Jazz locker room. And that because Joe Ingles is a renowned ball buster, but Joe Ingles was also a put my arm around you and make you feel better guy.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of people, I think Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert didn't have a good relationship at all. And I think that Joe Ingles and Donovan Mitchell had an okay, tepid relationship. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that Joe was necessarily a problem. I just think that Joe was a grinder on certain people.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton, what's up, my man? He leaves us $1.66 tip.
Okay.
Thank you. P.O. Dub says, we want Gobert. Well, I hope by we you mean you're a Timberwolves fan. Jason Cubs' dad says, Don can walk in 3 years. The retool needs to happen fast so Don doesn't walk.
Agreed.
3 years might as well be a decade. I mean, do you know how long 3 years is in the NBA?
No, I mean, I think I think Danny gets to define it though. I think that Danny Ainge's actions to commenter's point there is will affect it for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the Jazz have in the draft. It will. I'm far more interested in what the Lakers do because I think the Lakers in the Western Conference are a really important situation. I mean, if the Lakers acquire more shooting,
yeah,
and if they do make a Kyrie Irving deal, that completely changes the landscape of the NBA.
We just need something
really
to
does.
happen, bro. Like we need that to happen, or a Kevin Durant deal to happen, or something.
Yeah. Kurt Valenti, good morning to you, Kurt. He says the Jazz have nothing besides Mitchell. Nothing. Full tank mode. Take the Knicks 6 picks and McBride and Cam Reddish, Utah in tank mode. Well, the problem is the Knicks aren't offering 6 picks.
I think was that a joke? I think that might have been a joke.
Okay. I hope
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Time goes fast, Mont. Caleb says, yes, it does.
It moves.
Yes, it does. Compass says, hope the Knicks a playoff team next year. I think they will be. I think the Knicks are far better.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are a playoff team, man.
They've been. I think there is some awkwardness around Derrick Rose right now as well. I heard that yesterday too, that Derrick Rose is a guy that doesn't really have a role on that team now. Like, what's his role on this team? Who are you? What young guy are you taking minutes away from to play Derrick Rose?
Yeah, Derrick Rose needs a new organization. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And I think I also wonder. The other thing I wonder about the Knicks is what is R.J. Barrett's ceiling? Is R.J. Barrett ever first team All NBA? I don't think that ever happens.
Yeah,
I don't. Is he a perennial All-Star?
Yeah.
Most years he'll compete for an All-Star spot.
Yeah.
But is he ever like a foundational building block piece to the best team in the NBA?
No.
I don't think he's that guy.
Nope.
I don't. And I know people lost their ever-loving minds over me saying that I felt like RJ Barrett was soft. I think he is soft. And I don't mean that, like some guy on Twitter was like, he runs people over in the lane. Okay, cool. That doesn't mean he's not soft. Rudy Gobert is soft as hell.
Yeah.
He chokes on people. Yeah, he does, but he's soft as hell.
Yeah.
Like RJ Barrett, to me, is not a guy that I want to hand the ball to and say, go get me a win. He just isn't that guy. He's not a Jalen Green. He's not a Cade Cunningham. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
I want guys with swag and demeanor and presence on the floor that is intimidating. RJ Barrett's not intimidating anybody.
I want it.
He's not.
Yeah.
And I understand Jimmy Butler talked in wonderful terms about RJ Barrett. That doesn't mean he's not soft as hell.
I'm sure he's a perfectly fine human being and a good basketball player.
He's a very good basketball
player. I'm sure
player.
that the conversation isn't whether he's good at playing basketball. Obviously he is. It's about, hey, can I build my team around this guy? And I don't think that we can't say that yet. I don't think he's there yet.
We'll see. It'll be interesting. Asler, good morning to you before we get to the Pac-12 and San Diego State so people can lose their mind over that as well. Ainge will do just one of these two. Keep and build around Mitchell and contend or trade him for at least 4 picks, Grimes and Obi, salary filler for Evan. I don't want to see Rose getting cut for a second time. It's a very interesting situation with Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
And I personally I don't think Obi Toppin is enough for me.
No.
I don't think it's enough for me. That's just me though.
It's the picks and several players, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Let's get some people on. Wow. Comment dump. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Dish Dash 73. RJ is far from soft. You guys are crazy. So when I say soft, I mean mentality. I'm not saying he's not got a great NBA body. He does. I'm not saying that he doesn't go through the paint. He does. When I say soft, like he can be had. He's not a killer. And if I'm going to pay a guy a max contract, I want a killer.
Who's a killer in the league, in your estimation?
I think, look at the guys on max deals. Kevin Durant. Look at the $50 million player, Devin Booker. Look at Steph Curry. You look at the guys
Jason
making
Tatum?
the most money. Not yet. Jason Tatum is soft, in my opinion, because you can have him. You can have Jason Tatum. You are made by your biggest moments. And this is on Book a little bit as well, as much of a Book fan as I am. I wish he would have performed at a higher level in the finals. I mean, you haven't, right? Like that game 4 by Steph Curry.
Clutch.
I mean, that's what you need. So I look at a guy like Bradley Beal. I would take Bradley Beal on my team. I like Bradley Beal a lot. Do I want Tatum or Beal? Well, Tatum's a younger player, but if I'm in the NBA Finals or in a huge situation, I'm probably still going Jason Tatum based on what his potential is. But I'd rather have Curry. I'd rather have.
I think the two guys on the Clippers we forget about them. Paul George and Kawhi.
I'd rather have Kyrie with the ball in his hand with the NBA Finals on the line. I'd rather have Kevin Durant. I'd rather have Kawhi and Paul George. I'd rather have,
Jimmy Butler.
I like Jimmy Butler a lot. I think Jimmy Butler is an absolute ball buster when the ball is in his hands.
DeMar.
I love DeMar. Again, Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine is a guy that can be had.
Yeah,
I think he's soft. I look at DeMar. I'd far more value DeMar DeRozan than Zach LaVine.
Dame.
I think Dame is money. I think Dame's a guy I want. But I just think that a guy like RJ Barrett has a lot of proving to do. He can absolutely prove me wrong, and I hope he does. I think the NBA is a better place when the Knicks are contending for championships.
And that's what nobody talks about, I feel like. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, everyone hates on the Knicks. Well, everyone's tired of the Knicks sucking. Everyone's tired of the Knicks not being a contender. We're waiting for that to happen, man.
Yeah. Uncle Dax gives us a $20 tip. Thanks, Uncle Dax. Appreciate you being here. James Knight says, yeah, Book showed that mental toughness to the mascot. So let me get this right. No.
Don't go down
I'm
the
not
rabbit
gonna
hole.
get it right.
Don't do it.
TJ McVeigh says, name one former Duke player that isn't soft. Well, there is that.
Kyrie
Caleb,
Irving.
I really am a Kyrie fan. As a basketball player, I really like Kyrie. But I just don't think he loves the game. I don't think Kyrie Irving loves playing in the NBA.
No, I think Kyrie Irving loves basketball, just generally speaking. But I think Kyrie likes Kyrie too much. That's the problem.
Kyrie doesn't like being a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
I think Kyrie
You mean
Irving,
the process?
Yeah, I just don't think he loves the idea of playing 82 nights a year and then 20 more and training camp. And I think Kyrie likes being rich. I think Kyrie likes being famous.
Yeah.
I think he likes wearing nice clothes, and I just
Holding the Brooklyn Nets over a barrel. You know.
I just don't think he wants to be the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb says RJ Barrett isn't even a star player, man. Knicks fans overrate the hell out of him. Yeah. Mark Barrington says Steven Jackson, not soft. He made love to pressure. Sweet, sweet love. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Ruggs89 New York says, this must be a low-level fan base if you think Demon Ainge going to fleece the Don. It would have happened already. Well, the funny thing is now you're hearing the Knicks are frustrated with Danny Ainge. And that the Knicks really want to make this trade.
Man, Danny is in your guys' head, man.
He is.
He is in your head.
He is. Asgil says, I like the chat better when the delusional Knicks fans weren't around. Knicks fans are great.
But here's the thing. I
Knicks
want to be really clear on this. So you have to understand, you have to be able to put yourself in a Knicks fan's shoes. Like, again, with all due respect, I don't mean this in a way where I'm like hating on the Knicks. I think we can all agree. Everybody wants the Knicks to be a contending team. The Knicks are one of those nameplate teams that when they are good, the league is better. When Melo was draining it for the Knicks, everyone was thrilled about that. Like, let's be really clear.
Listen, man, I grew up admiring Oakley, and I loved Patrick Ewing.
Yes.
We need Jeff Van Gundy hanging on to somebody's leg. I need Larry Johnson. I need Allen Houston. I need Mark Jackson. I need Starbury. I need it. I want big games at the Garden.
Yeah.
You know? I want big games at the Garden. That is, I'm almost desperate for that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just.
I want the Knicks on Christmas Day, dude. I want it.
Yeah, where's Antonio Ruiz? Antonio Ruiz says 26-3 and not an all-star. But 20 points, what is 20 points in the NBA? Like if you look at
you got to be 25 plus to be elite in my opinion. You know, like cuz you're not it's really tough. Only the tippy top of the league scores 30 plus. I mean, those are Kevin Durant level guys, but anyone over 25, 26 a night.
Those are Giannis. Those are
Yeah.
I mean, you got to put up numbers. So here are the guys that are over 20 points a night on a regular basis: Tyrese Maxey, DeMar DeRozan, DeAndre Hunter, Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, CJ McCollum, Pascal Siakam, RJ Barrett, or Pascal Siakam.
That's tough, bro. That's really tough.
No, it's not.
Pascal Siakam is soft, bro.
You shut your mouth.
Hey.
Pascal Siakam scores 22 points a game.
Don't sass me, Burkus.
Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid.
Let's bump this up to, do you have, like, what about like 22, 23 points?
All right.
Because I feel like 20 is a little low.
22 points a game. CJ McCollum, Pascal Siakam, Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker. Like, if you look at these, and those are guys scoring points in the playoffs. All right. Let's look at regular season, let's say. Let's just look at regular season. Joel Embiid averaged 30.6 points a game in the regular season.
But okay, so he's a great example of a guy who's not soft. He wants to end you.
You know who
bro.
else is soft? Guess who averaged 20 points a game last year? Tyler Hero. Soft as hell.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
This place is empty.
RJ Barrett, 20 points. Chris Middleton or RJ Barrett, because they both averaged 20 points a game. I'm taking Middleton
all
every
day
single day.
Conversation.
Here are the other guys that are a 20-point-a-game guys. Yeah. Julius Randle, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges. God, he's so screwed.
LaMelo Ball or RJ Barrett?
LaMelo Ball by a lot.
Why do you say by a lot?
On the ball, three-point shooter, gets everybody else involved.
That's
superstar player.
That's fair.
Fred VanVleet, Tyler Hero, DeJounte Murray, Anthony Edwards, Darius Garland, James Harden.
Yeah, like I'm taking Anthony Edwards over RJ all day, bro.
CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Here's 23 points a game. De'Aaron Fox, Jaylen Brown, or RJ Barrett? Come on, guy. You're taking Jaylen Brown
That's not
every
even
day.
a real question, bro.
You're taking Jaylen Brown every day.
Yeah, that's not even a real question.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Zach LaVine, Karl Anthony Towns, Steph Curry averaged 25 points a game last year. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell or RJ Barrett? Get the fuck
Dude.
out of here. It's Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Come on. Are you serious? Did you hesitate?
Pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
I didn't hesitate.
Donovan Mitchell.
And I think the most important piece here is not even the stats, it's the mentality. I mean, Donovan wants to end you. But he's got proven to do.
Wait. Donovan Mitchell or RJ Barrett?
Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. You hesitated.
No, I didn't.
Don't drop me there, Hezzy.
I didn't hesitate.
No, Hezzy.
I was saying that wasn't a conversation.
Don.
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah.
Don.
That said, I think
Don.
RJ can help himself.
He's got a lot of growing, but he's very young. You got to remember, RJ Barrett's what?
Yeah.
20?
How old is RJ Barrett?
I think he's 20 years old.
Is he still only 20?
2021, something like that. But I mean, you look at the guys at the top
He's
of this
22.
league.
RJ Barrett's 22.
He's 22.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, 26 points. Book, 26.8. Tatum, 26.9. Nikola freaking Jokic,
Yeah, Mr. 50 a year.
MVP and 27 points a game. Do you understand how different 27 points is than 20 points on a nightly basis in the NBA? Come on. I just think when you look at RJ Barrett, he's a younger player than Donovan. I totally get that. Donovan Mitchell's on a different level than RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
And I would take King Trey Vlog says, I'm taking RJ over Mitchell. RJ's 21 years old.
That's wild, bro.
Why? I can't see that.
Can you and I'm legitimately asking. I'm not even trying to be disrespectful or troll or anything. Like what? Why?
I understand why if you put Donovan and RJ on the same floor together in the same uniform.
Well, it works. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Mainly because RJ's a
But-
left-handed player and you know, that makes space.
But on their own, I don't know. Keith Turner says, I'm a dedicated Knick fan, and these guys are right. We overrate RJ way too much. I even say that myself. Yeah.
But I think
it's a
important to
fascinating
say,
conversation.
Listen,
I really do.
And we do need to get to football here. But I think it is important to say that yeah, sure, while Knick fans do overrate RJ Barrett immensely most times, I do think the national media and maybe even us underrate just how valuable he can be in 4 to 5 years.
No,
that
bro,
development curve is it could be massive.
Do you know what we underrate? We underrate Donovan Mitchell.
Well, yeah.
And maybe I'll be the guy that'll sit here and say this. I'm telling you now, it is July 21st, 2022.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell's going to average 30 points a game the first half of this season.
Yeah.
And I don't care where he is.
Yeah, I mean, it could be truly it could be a special season for him, man.
I'm telling you that Donovan Mitchell's upside is top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's upside is not a top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
I
would
haven't
agree
seen
with
that.
I would
I
agree
haven't
with that.
seen that guy yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I've not, and I like RJ. I don't see him as a top 5 player. RJ Barrett's never better than Jason Tatum or Devin Booker, or he's never going to be that guy.
No, RJ Barrett is much more Zach LaVine, DeMar.
But is he ever the mid-range player that DeMar DeRozan is? I think DeMar DeRozan is arguably the best mid-range player in the NBA.
Yeah, but DeMar's not a winner. That's the problem.
Well, he hasn't.
You know what I mean?
That,
you know what I mean? So
I
like
don't disagree
DeMar's
with
one
that
of
at
those
all.
guys
I
that
don't
is an
disagree with
absolute
that at all.
savage in the regular season. Love watching him play. Would totally buy his jersey. Like that's who DeMar is for me. But he's not a winner. That's the problem.
I agree. You guys have been amazing on the comments. I see so many of you asking why I'm not reading people's. I'm trying.
There's just so many.
I'm trying. James Knight says, yes, get to football when the comments are flooded with NBA stuff.
Well, by the way, it's an NBA show, bro.
And it is our show.
By the way, if you're here
Whatever
right
the fuck we
now,
want.
all the Knicks fans, all the people in the comments, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow.
Yeah, we have 296 people here. If you could give us a thumbs up, please. That if just half of you give us a thumbs up right now, that really helps the channel grow. And hey, again, don't forget, we are giving away a trip for 2. And if you're national, if you're not in Utah, and I know we have a lot of Knicks fans today, you want to go and see Notre Dame take on BYU at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. We are giving 2 tickets and 2 nights in a hotel in Las Vegas, thanks to our friend Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. And if you need mortgage help, no matter where you are, call the number on your screen right now, 801-543-9666, 801-543-9666. Devery Davis has done 3 mortgages for me and my family. He's done mortgages for all of my friends. He is amazing. The guy gets it. If you have a question about your mortgage, the very basic question of, can I afford to buy a house right now?
Yeah.
Call Devery Davis and ask him that question.
Facts.
Because you deserve it. You're busting your ass in your life. You deserve to own a home if that's where your heart is. Call Devery Davis. He'll make that happen for you. 801-543-9666 is the number to call. Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. The guy is an absolute savant when it comes to mortgages. We have talked to him at length about real estate. And the guy is just amazing. And again, he's put me in a position now where I have an incredibly low percentage rate. I was in a great position. He got me the most, advantageous mortgage that I could get. He'll do the same for you. All you got to do is call Devery Davis, 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278545. Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage are an equal housing lender, and they are the presenting sponsors for our BYU Notre Dame drive away to see BYU in Las Vegas taking on Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series on October 8th. Hook it up now. A couple more NBA comments because I do see that all of you are here and really appreciate you reaching out today. Greg Hawkins says, got you, James. That's what I'm here for.
What up?
James Knight says, thanks for being media manager, Greg.
I say I'm just fired up to be here today.
Greg Hawkins says, back in the day when the Monty Show had 40 live viewers, it was a lot easier to read all the comments. We got 300 viewers now. If they read all the comments, there wouldn't be time for anything else.
Correct.
Yeah, and you guys, again, a week from tomorrow, we are going to make a massive announcement on this show.
Yes.
About
things are coming.
About the future of this show. We could not do anything that we're doing right now without you. Guys like Greg Hawkins, James Knight, certainly you have been one of the best parts of this show. Eric and Raleigh, not so much. But anyway, my point is, that was a joke, Eric.
No,
relax. Relax. Take the Jim Rome approach. Less of you and more of me.
Yes,
Exactly
yes, yes.
right. Thank you. But we couldn't do what we do without you guys. I mean, you guys are phenomenal. Again, that we have 264 viewers here, that you guys are giving us likes. Hit the like button. It really helps the show grow. We have a massive announcement next week. It is going to change the way we do business. Big L 139 in Lennox says they're just trying to hype up DM's value and try to get the Knicks fleeced. I personally don't want the Jazz to trade Donovan. When you're an NBA fan, a lot of times you don't have perspective on, hey, Donovan Mitchell's phenomenal. We're lucky to watch him every night.
Dude's put up 26 a night right now.
I grew up taking Michael Jordan for granted. So when I got to LA and covered Kobe and Shaq, I never took that for granted.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take for granted just how damn talented Donovan Mitchell is. And I don't want to see them trade him. But if they do, I totally understand it. I'm not convinced they will. Tristram West says pushing the like button should always be a prerequisite when you're watching a show for more than 5 minutes. I agree,
Agreed.
Tristram.
And I appreciate you saying that.
Yep. Nick Yak says he said RJ Barrett is not 2.5. Who said he is? Only 5 is top 5, so knock RJ, who asked to play out of position at small forward. I don't disagree with that. I'm not knocking RJ Barrett. We were talking about, in the parlance of this conversation, I said RJ Barrett doesn't project, in my mind anyway, in my opinion, RJ Barrett doesn't project to ever be one of the top 5 players in the NBA.
Yeah.
So I think Donovan Mitchell does. I'm not knocking Donovan Mitchell for that. I'm not knocking RJ Barrett for that.
And sometimes I think we do that in as NBA fans and people who love the game. I feel like sometimes we knock guys for their potential when they're young. Like if RJ Barrett projected, like Devin Booker is a perfect example. Hey, Devin Booker projects to be top 5 guy in the league in 3 years. So why isn't he there yet? Get your ass there. Like, you let us down. Like we tend to do that, and I don't think we should. But I think with RJ Barrett, I have to agree. I don't think RJ Barrett has top 5 potential. I think that RJ Barrett has top 15 potential for sure. And top 10 is probably the max. But that said, that doesn't mean he's a crap player. That doesn't mean that RJ Barrett all of a sudden can't be on a championship team. I just don't think he's the centerpiece of a championship team. I think he can be a guy on a championship team, though, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I agree with you. Let's see. Hayabusa says nobody can buy a house. Completely not true.
Call Devery, dude. I'm telling you, man. Call the guy.
And Hayabusa, I don't know where you are. Call Devery Davis.
Yeah.
801-5, I'll put the number on the screen.
Do it.
Call the guy.
Call him.
Because I think you're crazy. 801-543-9666.
Devery Davis is the kind of guy where if you call him and you're like, hey, I live here, right? And this is my situation. What do you think I could go and get? He'll tell you what it is, and he will definitely tell you what it's not. Like he's said to me before personally, hey, you shouldn't do that. That will put you in a bad spot. Don't do that. And that's what I think is so valuable. You have to have a guy who is willing to say, hey, don't do that. Much like the Knicks need someone to say, hey, don't give up 6 first-round picks. Right? Yep. One and the same.
NY Jazz fan tips us $1.99. Appreciate that. He says, new listeners, this show is unapologetic truths. We try to be that every day. We do. Jeremy Bolton says, except for the Caruso slander. You're the one who slanders Alex Caruso every day, and frankly, it hurts my soul. Jeremy, it hurts my soul. I understand that you are traumatized by your warrior race mentality thing that you did last couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the name of the race he did, but he did like one of those Ragnars.
Ragnar!
Like Jeremy Bolton, by the way, in all reality, Jeremy Bolton's a stud. Dude, I am so happy for you that you finished that race.
Do you even lift?
Fuck that. Like, what
do you bench?
I've done, it was funny. We were at Max Muscle in South Jordan the other day talking, me and Mrs. Monty, talking about the day we did a Muddy Buddy race.
Oh, is that no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Dude.
Bro.
That's not a euphemism for sex. Stop it.
Don't lie to me.
It's not. I mean, it should be. It should be. There's nothing wrong with coming in the back door.
Wow.
House. After you buy a house, you come in the back. Like the garage,
bro.
and you go in the back door.
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
What?
Wow.